Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who is in Queens, New York. You may hear the sound of the Grand Central Parkway behind me, and I have just seen Billie Eilish's Happier Than Ever world tour at Madison Square Garden. So I'm going to give you a little review of this tour, what it was like, a little personal anecdote as well. If you've been following the channel, you know that I've had COVID, and they say Omicron lasts 5 days. But mine lasted a lot longer. On the 6th day, I had tickets to see Billie Eilish in Buffalo with my kids. Now my daughter, Goat, as she is known on this show, was so excited and was so heartbroken that we couldn't go because I had COVID. And while I was sitting there, I thought, well, you know what? 12 days after I contracted COVID, Billie Eilish is playing in Madison Square Garden. Why don't we just save it? I'll just return these tickets, which I was able to do thanks to the COVID rules. I got that money back. I took that money and I spent that at Madison Square Garden. Father of the Year status ensured. 10 days. 11 days. I'm talking the night before the show. I took one of those home tests and I still had a blue line, which meant I still couldn't go as of 11 o'clock at night, the day before the show. Mind you, I live 6 hours from New York City. So I had one last chance. I get up at 5:50 a.m., jab my nose with a little Q-tip, and it comes back negative. Get the kids up, load into the car, drive the 6 hours, let them sleep in the car, get here to my friend's house in Queens, and we were finally about to make it. So, I was feeling pretty good about myself that it managed to work out, but it's a good reminder, we are not in control. COVID is in control. And you can get as mad as you want, at masks, and you can get mad at vaccines, you can get mad at libs and mad at conservatives and mad at the president and mad at the government and mad at the schools and mad at the anti-maskers and the pro-maskers. We're not in charge. COVID's in charge. So, fortunately, COVID let me go to the show. Now, I had sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde experience. If you've never been to New York City, it really is an amazing place to go. It's a great place to be able to visit. I'm very lucky to have these good friends here. So, we always take the subway, right? So we took the F train from Queens into Manhattan. And it was like a tale of two subways. So on the way there, no delays. We're in the train. We have seats. There's this dance crew that pops up at a certain point, and they are doing the most insane. Like, I've seen dance crews on subways before, but these guys, this dude did a side plank where he held onto the pole completely horizontal while his friend tickled his armpits. It was just awesome, and we're sitting there and we're just so happy. So remember this amazing subway experience for when I talk about the way back. We get in, we go to visit my nephew. He took us to Koreatown. If you ever go to Madison Square Garden, don't eat around there. Take the 5-minute walk to Koreatown, which is just, I think, north of Madison Square Garden. I had this amazing, spicy fish cake thing in this cool cafeteria that had all these, Squid Game props and K-pop murals on the wall. It was quite funny. Getting into Madison Square Garden. I've never seen a show at the Madison Square Garden. I've seen a lot of concerts. I've probably seen 100 concerts, but I've never seen one at Madison Square Garden. I'm very excited. Not that seeing Billie Eilish in Buffalo wouldn't have been exciting, but there's a little more to it. Sorry, I gotta put my hat on. It's too cold. There's a little more to it. Seeing her in Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena or whatever it is. Getting in, there's no problem. We just walk right in. I have my pass to show that we're all vaccinated. We go in. And this is the thing. When you're a dad and you're trying to get tickets for your kids and trying to buy, there's all these series of mathematics you have to do. Like how to stay safe, how to stay COVID safe, how to stay physically safe, how to make sure you have a good view but not a bad view. So the pit was out. I'm not going to be sitting there, spitting up germs with each other. And I had to buy tickets on the second market. So basically any good ticket was $400 a piece. So what I did was I bought tickets for what's called the Me Bridge, the Sky Bridge, which is a thing. If you go to Madison Square Garden, you have to check it out. There's no other seat like it that I've ever seen. they put this ring of seats, like seriously in the rafters, like as high up as you could possibly go. In Madison Square Garden, and they put seats up there, but they moved them out over the audience so that you're not in the nosebleeds as far back as possible. You're just above. You're like in the second movie in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reboot. Talk about Parent of the Year. I've seen both of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reboots. There's a scene where the turtles are just sitting, I think it's in Madison Square Garden, in the very top, looking down. That's what it is. If you want an older reference, you're like Jean-Claude Van Damme in the movie Hard Target. That's not in my notes. That's me riffing right here. That's why I'm the 11th best in the game. So we're sitting there, and it's awesome because there's only one row. There's only one row of seats in the sky because they just threw these things in there. It's a very weird setup. So there's like a plexiglass row, and then there's like a seat with like a desk. So we're just so comfy, you know? And mind you, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go. I didn't even tell you the whole story. I didn't even tell you the whole story about why I'm the Father of the Year. 16 years in a row. Why am I the Father of the Year? The night before, I'm sleeping in the basement because I'm quarantined. And my sweet dog, Bobo, whenever he walks into the living room, it's right over my head. It sounds like he's playing drums on my head with his nails. 4 times. He just does little laps around the living room, which told me he had digestive issues. So 4 times the night before, I wake up. So like 4 times, I wake up, put on my mask, let my dog go to the bathroom in an emergency situation at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then go back down into the basement and sleep just to get up at 5, just to drive them here. So like I needed all the comfort I could get. Willow Smith pulled out of the tour, which is a bummer. We've been listening to Willow Smith like the whole week, getting excited. Willow Smith is great, but she wasn't on the show. Instead, it was someone named Dora Jar, who was dressed like an extra from the movie Waterworld, and that's a compliment. I love Waterworld. It's kind of funny. My son really enjoyed her music, which is great. My son wanted to go, and he loves concerts. But, he's a 16-year-old boy, so he can't be all like, Billy! He had a Phineas t-shirt on, which is pretty cool. So he was joking around the whole time, like, I can't believe I'm finally going to get to see Phineas in concert. Good joke. And I enjoyed Dora, but in order to maintain my Father of the Year status, I had to get the merch that we wanted. So you've been seeing me film in my basement. You'll notice we have posters everywhere, but there's one blank spot on the wall. And that's the blank spot that's been there since we redid our basement for the Happier Than Ever poster by Billie Eilish. We didn't know what it would look like, but we knew that we wanted a Billie Eilish tour poster in that exact spot. Mind you, like when I got the tickets for Buffalo, I was there at 10 o'clock and like right as they went on sale. We've been getting pumped up for this for a year. Like we've been just so excited and circling it on the map. And we had to, scrap it. So here we are finally. We're in Madison Square Garden. We're in the Sky Bridge. I go down 2 floors. I go to a merch table. They're sold out. I said, where else can I go? They said, you can go down 2 more floors. I'll go down 2 more floors. First place, sold out. They say there's another one over there. I go over. I managed to get the poster. Black and white. It's cool. I can't show it to you now. It's in the car. And then the other tradition that we have in our family, and this is a good tradition. I encourage you to share it with me. We drink Sprite at concerts. Only Sprite. We don't get popcorn, we don't get cheeseburgers, we don't get fancy chicken sandwiches they talk about in Madison Square Garden. We only get Sprite. Not Coca-Cola. I sure as hell am not going to sit there and drink a $12 beer. Just Sprite. That's our tradition. And by the way, we only drink Sprite at concerts. So it's this fun thing. So I have to carry these 3 large Sprites and this poster up 4 flights of escalators through all the tours. I show up and I miss the entire Dora Jar show. Apparently it was really good. Then the tension's building, and we're sitting there, and we're in the world's greatest auditorium, whatever it is, built in 1896, Madison Square Garden. It's pretty cool. Before Billy goes on, they play the entire 17-minute version of Isaac Hayes' Walk On, which makes me very happy. That's one of my favorite songs. My kids and I used to listen to that song all the time, so we all know all the beats. It's a good setup. It's a good idea to know that Billie Eilish is using this to set up her concert. Now let me talk to you about the show. I think Billie Eilish is putting on the concert that she wants to see. I think she's a former, Bieber fan. think she's a former person who loves musicians and loves Hollywood and loves stadium shows. It feels to me like she knows exactly what a 16-year-old, what a 14-year-old Billie Eilish superfan wants to see in concert, and she delivers it entirely. It's awesome. It's like, what if New Kids on the Block wanted to see New Kids on the Block, and what would they put on? It did not feel very corporately controlled. That's the thing that I love about Billie Eilish always. I never feel that she's very corporately controlled. There's only 3 people on stage, Phineas, a drummer, and her. So it had like, it was like a combination. There was a little too much like recorded music played for my taste, but still, Phineas, drummer, and her, a great laser show. Like this, the floor was totally lit up with a catwalk that went onto the audience that was totally necessary. A great big screen behind her. She was very careful to pay attention to the entire audience. I always get tickets on the right side of the singer because I know that most singers are right-handed, and so they pay attention that way. It didn't really matter. She was all over the place because she knows what it is to want to see a concert. Wait, did my computer just die? I have all these notes over here. My computer just froze. God damn it. Well, you know what? That was a good start. I guess I will complete the show back home in Rochester. I'm going to drive home. I'm going to print out my notes, and I'll go through song by song. Because my dear computer just froze. Okay, I'm back. 24 hours later. I'm in my office. I still have the mask marks on my face from teaching. I'm so happy to be back in person. Who cares? So where did I leave off? I was describing the general effect of the Billie Eilish show. I was emphasizing how it felt to me like she was putting on the kind of show she would want to see. So, I really loved her attention to the entire audience. Also, just there's a dynamism to her music, which I think is, you hear it on the albums where, she has her bops and she has her more meditative songs. But when they're all put together in a concert, it's great. Like, we're just sort of basically being slingshotted back and forth between songs that make you dance and songs that make you sit. And she was always very conscious to tell the audience when to sit and when to stand. Which, as an old guy, I'm always appreciative when an artist tells me I can sit down. Because, when you're young, you never want to sit down. You just want to stand up, and you hate sitting down at concerts. But when you're old, you kind of want to do that. One thing I really appreciated is, I talked a lot about, I don't talk a lot about her physical transformation before Happier Than Ever, right? Like it's weird and it's creepy for an old dude to talk about the way young women look, But as a father, I was a little disappointed because I really enjoyed how free she was with how she looked before and how much she de-emphasized her looks and how, at raising a daughter, I was happy to have a pop star that, wasn't Britney Spears, that wasn't a member of what my dad calls belly pop, where you're always showing off your belly button. So I was a little upset by the change. I didn't think that it was too sexy or that it was wrong, and I was happy. As a feminist, I was happy because whatever Billie Eilish wants to do is what Billie Eilish should do. And I believe that she was making those decisions based on a personal decision, not based on external forces. So I was like upset. I wasn't mad, but it was a bummer. I'd put it that way. So it was nice to see that now that she's performing, she's not dressed up like some Veronica Lake 40s bombshell. She's just dressed like she used to dress, like a Hot Topic kid. I mean, she was wearing a Death Note sweatshirt, and she had her hairs up in these like pigtails, and she just had this totally free look. The whole time, that was the way I would describe her attitude, was just complete freedom. Like, if I could summarize her attitude, like what she was saying in her head was, here I am, and it's kind of nuts, but you're here too. Like she was just going to perform. She's just going to jump around and sing these songs. And if there happened to be 20,000 people at Madison Square Garden 2 nights in a row, all the better for it. Speaking of jumping around, there's a weird thing about her. She's a dancer, right? Like, she trained as a dancer. She spent the 10,000 hours to become a professional dancer. But she doesn't dance. Like, she stomps around kind of gracelessly on the stage. And I think that's a conscious choice. I think that's part of what makes her so free, is that, again, if you go and see Justin Bieber, or you go and see Beyonce or Taylor Swift, maybe less Taylor Swift now than the way she used to be, there's choreographers, there's dances, there's a specific thing. With her, you get the sense she has this huge stage, and she jumps around it and dances around on it, and basically goes to the same places, basically does the same thing, but it's not choreographed. It's free. The whole show just feels so free. Just the way she would just stare at the audience, just like, what's up? I'm here. Let's do a song. It's really singular. I don't think I've ever seen somebody perform like that in a stadium, like a huge stadium, to have somebody's attitude just be like, here I am. I'm going to be talking about the audience a fair amount too. Not just myself and my kids, but the people around us and the effect that Billie Eilish has on people. There's this one dude. Listen, if you're that dude from Section 327 at Madison Square Garden on June 19th, I want to thank you. My kids hate you. My kids thought you almost ruined the show. I found you hilarious. Every single song, especially the quiet ones. He would just go, I love you, Billie. We love you, Billie. Every single song without exception. The entire song. I don't know if it reminds me of get your yayas out, the Rolling Stones, or the person, whispering next to the microphone, paint it black, you devils. There's something about the sort of mass hypnosis of a great concert, something about this feeling. It was hilarious. And then the girls next to me were like these girls, I don't know, teenage girls, and they like screamed so loud. Like my ears still hurt 2 days later because of how loudly they screamed. And that gave that sort of Bieber Beatles feeling. Like Billie Mania is essentially what we were seeing. And I've never been to a real sort of pop concert like that. I mean, I went and saw Panic at the Disco, but by the time I saw them, most of their fans had already aged out of the just screaming phase. But here we had real, just screaming fans. So let's go through the concert, basically song by song. It starts off like a drum solo, which is great, and then Billie jumps out of the floor, and the floor is all lit up, and with our seats, we could see the floor very well. It was very cool. Opens up with the song Bury Your Friend. This is where it was clear that the entire audience would be singing every single word for the entire concert. And once you get used to that, it's okay. Initially, I was a little bit disappointed by it, because I'm like, I want to hear her sing, but it's a collective experience. We're all there, and the worst culprit was my daughter. So how am I going to get mad at my daughter sitting there singing? I didn't change my number. Again, it's really cool having like a real drummer and Phineas switching between guitar and bass. That was really like early on in the show when I realized like how much that was going to really help the show. NDA was the biggest disappointment of the concert. And let me tell you why. Ever since I heard this song, I have been waiting to see this concert. I have been waiting for that breakdown where everything changes in NDA, which is, in my opinion, the best moment in music from last year. That's like one of my favorite moments in all music ever, that breakdown. The part where the cars come in the video, and it just didn't translate to the stadium. It was cool, but it was not what I had hoped for, which was like a transcendently amazing, earth-shattering moment, like it is in the song. I think for that, I would have needed to be like in the very front row, or I would have needed to like be inside of a speaker and just have like my fillings shake with the power of that moment. Therefore I Am, just great energy with Billie dancing around. I feel like I finally really get that song. I covered that song in the beginning. I didn't quite get it. Just the defiance of the song. That's what makes it such a great song, and that's what makes it a great video, but really when she performs it, she's just so defiant, just stomping all over the place. Oh my God, those girls next to me were just screaming and screaming. And then when Billie went into My Strange Addiction, there's this weird thing where she didn't sexualize herself basically at all. Like twice on the show, she sort of like get down, like sort of on her knees and all fours and like slightly writhe just a little bit. And these teenage girls next to me, I mean, they were like screaming like inappropriate stuff, like inappropriate sexual stuff at Billie Eilish, and it was an interesting thing because it was like this. I don't know what, some kind of like libidinous energy was like unleashed by this just slight amount of sexuality in the entire show. Crown, you should see me in a crown. I don't even know what the song's called. I just wrote Crown in my notes, where she explains there's a couple rules. Rule number one is have fun. B word, just jumping around. This is the first of the performances that my daughter made me film so that she could jump around. And as a dad, a lot of this has been about why am I the father of the year. That's part of the reason why, because I'm enjoying the show. I'm dancing around. I'm not like jumping, but I'm moving. I move at concerts. But I had to stay perfectly still and film for her so that she could watch it later. I love the real drums on here, like less of a backing track. Going into Billy Bossa Nova, just great hearing the guitar, great seeing Phineas perform live. Again, my son with his Phineas t-shirt there the whole time. I can't believe I'm going to see Phineas. And what I like is they had this big screen behind them, and they use it pretty sparingly. So here they used it to show people dancing the Bossa Nova. It was quite nice. Again, that weird sort of sexual energy. People threw bras up onto the stage, and it's funny because like the sexuality of like pop stars, like the idea of like throwing bras and underwear up on stage, has like it always seemed like a direct correlation. Like female fans would throw bras up on the stage of male singers who they were attracted to, but that wasn't the vibe that I got off of this. This was more just like, I am so unbelievably happy and excited that I'm just going to do something crazy, which is maybe what it always was. Maybe my initial reading of it was too gendered or sexual. I don't know. Next song, Glowing? I don't even know what the next song was called, but this cool kind of like church-like imitation of lighting, which they had for sometimes. No, Going. That's the name of this song. Because, really the question is, can a stadium support this kind of music? Billie Eilish is known for her whispering and for her very intimate songs, but songs like this, dum-dum, da-dum-dum, da-da-dum-dum, you really had that great feeling in the audience of everyone just jamming along. Halley's Comet had the best usage of the screen, where there's this beautiful carousel image behind her, and just the way that it looked, it really felt like she was in a different place. It was like she was on a soundstage. Then she played No Time to Die, which was great because, it was weird because they played the entire opening scene from James Bond behind her. I think the girl next to me was about to faint. And what's interesting is when I first heard the song, I wondered, like, is there enough dynamics for a James Bond song? There's a lot of great elements that make up a James Bond song. There's been some good videos about those. But really, you need some kind of dynamics where it goes from intimate to bombastic. And I think I was wrong. I said that this song doesn't have enough dynamics, but I think it really does. And I saw that with the nature of the singing. It really is through her voice, not through the instrumentation, that the song has the dynamics, which is pretty impressive. Ilo Milo is apparently my son's favorite song, which is really funny. This maybe shows her best ability to control the stage. Very effective stagecraft with like a shark eating her. And then she played Oxytocin. And when she did Oxytocin, that's probably the highlight of the sort of the bangers in the set list. Again, that dude behind me, Billy, we love you, Billy. Every single song. But what I like is, she did very concrete audience instruction, which I appreciate. I like it when they tell you what to do. They said bend down, and then when you're done bending down, just go crazy. And she told us to do that. And that's what we did. And just the whole crowd just absolutely nuts. Really out of control. It was awesome. And there's kind of like a drum and synthesizer jam between the two musicians, a total highlight of the show. And then that leads into Your Power, which is an acoustic duet with Billy and Phineas. The thing about Phineas is there's no amount that he can be praised for it to be enough for how important he is to the whole operation. But it's just so great seeing them together and her describing how much she loves the song. The one thing I wish they had a little more courage to have no backtracking, no recorded elements, just Your Power with just the two of them. I know people are expecting the sounds of the bass, but that's the one thing I wish. Male Fantasy, again, another just acoustic and folk, just one voice and one guitar, basically a folk concert, like a folk concert in the middle of this giant pop excitement. That song where she talks about body issues, the weird speech thing, my kids were like, okay, fine, we'll go to the bathroom. There's nothing to do here. But that was a real mistake because the next song, Overheated, started and like Billie was like sitting in this crane thing. It was actually closer to us in the audience. And she was able to go around. Again, she's very conscious of appealing to the entire audience. The best song that I didn't know was called Bellyache, which like segued into another early song, Ocean Eyes, which is a very famous song. But she sort of updated it and made it sound a little bit more like an upbeat Phil Collins song. And then we get to the part where I cried. Where I cried, where Billie cried, everybody cried. The song Getting Older. Behind her on stage, on the big screens, were all these home videos of her when she was a kid. And I'm sitting there, like next to my daughter, next to my son, and I have thousands of hours of video of them playing around. And I'm thinking about like her being here, playing these songs with this video made by her loving family and looking up and remembering the times and thinking about how young and innocent she was and how she is now and the whole scope of everything. And it didn't make me think about being a kid. It made me think about being a parent. It made me think about like how much I loved my kids. Like I saw that the images of Billie Eilish as a kid playing around at a birthday party or at the zoo or whatever. And I saw my kids up there. I saw that. I didn't see her. I saw them. So I'm just crying. You know, I'm getting over COVID. Took the long trip. I'm sitting here. You know, my daughter dealt with the disappointment of not seeing it in Buffalo, and now she's so happy getting to see it in New York. And my son, he's just jamming and rocking out, and the mask is ruined. It's just, and then in the middle of the song, she starts crying. Billie Eilish starts crying. She explained later it was seeing those images and now she's playing in Madison Square Garden. That's part of the reason it's good to see shows in Madison Square Garden, because it means something and people know it means something. What a great moment. Just that was like as powerful of a moment in a concert as I've ever been in. Really it was. Because I'm rarely brought to tears at a concert, you know. It's usually more like excitement. Whew, it was great. Lost Cause flowed very nicely from that. It's a very long show. When the party's over, I like how she asked the crowd to put away their phone and led them in a breathing exercise. Maybe a bit tone deaf doing a breathing exercise in the day of COVID, but nice kind of church lighting. Really just impressive performance. I like how whenever she messes up singing, she points it out and laughs at it. Because she really does sing very well. You know, like we live because there's backtracking, because there's lots of people who lip sync. It can be hard to believe that she actually is this good of a singer. But she is such a good singer. She has such great range. And you know that because when she messes up, she notices it and she draws your attention to it, and you realize she's not messing up very often. All the Good Girls Go to Hell, it turns out is like an environmental song. I didn't really know that. I guess it makes sense. Black Lives Matter, that was sort of the catch-all, these are the days of protests song. But the best part there is Phineas came out and played a bass solo, and he just killed it. Everything I Wanted was the point where I just really remembered how important it is that these people who wrote these songs are the people who are performing them. And when we're talking about pop stars, you know, like Justin Bieber, etc., you know, for the most part, they co-write their songs. But it's a team, and it's a selection, and it's a process, and everyone puts it together. But there's something so intimate about seeing Phineas and Billie playing these songs in person that makes it like watching Radiohead or watching some rock band. You know, like the people who made the music are the people who are playing it. And that's a rarity in a pop music concert. Billie, I love you, Billie. That guy. You know what? I wish if I could redo this review again, I would just have some guy in the back just going, I love you, Sky. We love you, Sky. Then they played Bad Guy, which I'm not sure, I wasn't quite sure if that really works in the arena setting up until the breakdown part, up until the dancey part. At which point, oh my God, we were all just losing it. Just absolutely. My son he was like pogoing, you know, the old 70s like punk dancing. My daughter was, I was, the girls next to me. I love you, Billy. I don't think he was dancing. I think he was just standing there going, I love you, Billy. But everyone else in the stadium, all 20,000 people, are all just losing their marbles dancing to the song. This confetti pops out of the ceiling, but we were above the confetti. That's how high up we were. Then the concert closes on another highlight, Happier Than Ever. So, and also, if you don't know the song, Happier Than Ever starts very acoustic and then ends very electric and becomes like almost like a heavy metal song by the end. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody style song, you know? But this beautiful thing happened where my daughter asked me to film it. I'm like, all right, fine, I film it. But right as we get to, like, seriously, at the exact dead center of the song, where it kicks in and becomes like a big heavy metal song, the phone loses its storage. The thing pops up, this camera has no more storage, this phone has no more storage, you cannot film. So I got to put it down. My daughter said it was a bummer, but it wasn't. Because then we could all, like, you thought we were rocking to Bad Guy? Oh my God. They have this lightning effects, and we're dancing, and we're just rocking out to this music as hard as we possibly can as a family. At the end, you know, they all got together. The concert was over. They all rolled down the ramp they have on the stage. They're all having fun. They're all goofy. That whole just happy feeling. The whole thing was just drenched in just happiness and innocence and sweetness and love and art and music. And then getting out was the worst thing ever. They're doing construction at Madison Square Garden. So, like, it took us, like 45 minutes to get out of the stadium. And then we took the train back. And the train, remember how I said getting there was awesome and, like, Subway is the best? This was, like, just one line, just the F line. Just the F line. According to NewYorkSubway.com or whatever, it's supposed to be 53 minutes. After 2 stops, the train just stops. We're talking, it's 12:15 in the morning, and the train just stops there and just doesn't move. My kids are sleeping. They're like cuddling with each other. It's amazing. I'm trying to sleep, but like I can't. I'm still tired from the incident with the dog and the fact that I woke up at 5 o'clock that morning to drive down here, and I can't really fall asleep because I don't want to fall asleep when my kids are on the New York subway at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like kind of dozing off, kind of paying attention. It took like 2.5 hours for that 1 hour train ride home. And there was this guy who we called the quarter boss because, you know, he needed money. And so he thought, you know, he would ask people for money on the train. But what he would do is he would just walk in between the trains, and my kids were asleep, and he would wake up my daughter and say, "You got a quarter, boss? You got a quarter, boss?" And she just like shake, and like he did that like 4 times. So we had the quarter boss. We finally get to Queens. We have to take like the 20-minute walk back. It was brutal, but it was totally worth it. That's part of how you win the Father of the Year award. You protect your family from the quarter boss, and you stick with it, even though you just spent like way too long on the subway. So there's my review. If you have a chance to see it, you need to see it. I mean, in general, it's one of my rules. If there's any artist who's at their peak, you have to see them in concert. Like, do whatever the hell it takes to see them in concert, because peaks don't last forever. We don't know how long this is going to last, how long this is going to be as good as it is, so you need to see it. Okay, I'm going to eat my lunch now. Get back to work. Thanks for watching the video. Had you seen Billie Eilish in concert? What did you think? Smash the like bucket. Subscribe. See, I remember how to YouTube. There's the camera.